Dance party.
I like to have my computer in here so I can see what's going on.
Yeah.
You can see that did not work. Randomly.
So what are you working off of right now?
My desktop.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Does your shirt say be present?
It does. Isn't that awesome?
I'm going to mention this at the end, but have you seen this book, Present Over Perfect?
Oh my gosh, I got the Audible on that, and wow, chapter 5 was me to a T.
Let's see where I am. I haven't finished it yet, but yeah, it's I love her writing. Love it. Bread and Wine, her other book, one of her other books is one of my favorites. So I had been reading, I can't even remember what it's called. Clearly it didn't make that much of an impact.
Was it another one of her books?
No, but Unglued by Lisa Turkers.
Yeah.
It's all about raw emotion. And that was good. But then I was like, I think I need to pick this up. And so I'll pick that one up later. But
yeah, just kind of go with what you're feeling. But I loved her writing style, so I ended up getting that book. What is it with the bird's nest on the cover?
Yeah, I haven't read that, but I know what you're talking about, I think.
Yeah, I think it has like 1 million different pieces or something like that. That's another book, but 1 million little pieces, different book. But that is something like that. But she's great. I like her.
I like her too. I like how just real and raw she is.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got some viewers on. I was going to say something else, but now I can't remember. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started just to respect everybody's time. Thank you guys so much for jumping on. This is not so much in stone as it used to be. This is Emily just has some things to share, and she's like, if you want to host, I want to speak on this call. And I'm like, girl, yes, because when she told me her title, I'm like, we need that. You know, we have a simple business that a bunch of well-intentioned people have overcomplicated, and we really just need to get back to the roots to where you can fall in love with your business again and just do what matters and do what makes the most impact. So leave it to a more emerald personality that can give you tactical steps, what is the word? See, I don't even know the word, but she's got it. She's bringing you steps that will help you add value to your business daily to where you're not swimming in the sea of unproductive items, okay? So without too much time wasting, Emily, I'd love to just bring you on. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. So does the team. And listeners, thank you so much for being here.
Cool. Thank you, Lindsay. So I'm super pumped. This is a topic that is particularly just real to me this year, and I'll share why in a moment. But essentially this came out of just some struggle for me, and I kind of think, oftentimes we have to think in terms of what is the problem, and which that's a little negative. My husband would tell me I'm being negative, but the problem is one that is common, but I think people are afraid to admit to, and that's this sense of overwhelm. But the issue that lies here is the fact that we talk about freedom and flexibility as a coach. We talk about when we share, about how awesome coaching is, freedom, that's a word that we throw around a lot, yet so many of us find ourselves paralyzed by overwhelm. We're not sure what to do. We're not sure how to move things forward. We're not sure how to thrive. And thus we're not truly living out the thing that we tend to share as one of the biggest benefits of coaching. We talk about how coaching allows us to be home with our families and work from anywhere, but then we become a slave to it. We're on our phones when we should be with our families. We're not filling our own cups because we're simply pouring out and not taking the time to do that. We're not putting up appropriate boundaries and practicing self-discipline and focus that can make all the difference. And we are trying to reinvent the wheel and do. And I think I spent a good portion of my business doing that. So what I'm going to share today is not new. It's probably a conglomeration of things that you have heard before. But often we need to hear things repeatedly and in different ways in order for them to take root. I am a teacher, and so I have realized, sometimes a student goes to somebody else and they hear the same thing that I've been saying all this time, but it finally takes root. So hopefully something in this today takes root for you. I'm going to ask you to consider what you can put into practice after this call. So keep that in the back of your mind. But first, a little bit about me. Who is Emily Wertz? Why does this matter to me? First of all, I'm passionate about helping people live life with freedom and joy, bottom line, to encourage people to live life more freely and fully. I'm married to Aiden. It's been 9.5 years. We have 2 kids. Quint is 4.5. Imogen is 3. They are 19 months apart. If you have young children, you can just imagine the chaos that sometimes, that's only 2. I can't imagine more right now. But, but I got started on my Beachbody journey 5 months after Imogen was born. So it'll be 3 years at the end of May. And she was a lot more challenging than Quint. We had Quint and we said, what are people talking about? This is so easy. Let's have another one. And God was like, yeah, I was tired. I was frustrated. I was in a dark place, a lot of self-loathing. And so I started May 27th of 2014, and it was pretty life-changing. I'll spare you all the details, but for the first time in my life, I realized that there was potential for sustainability and that I actually could follow through with something. So as of July 1st, I decided to coach. And I thought, wow, 1, this is satisfying, but 2, I think I can do this. That sense of belief was there. But I tend to be someone who has a lot on her plate. I'm a musician and I'm a teacher. And anybody who knows musicians and teachers, we do a lot of different things, especially as a singer, because, we perform, we teach, we yada, yada, yada. So I teach singing at a small liberal arts college part-time. I have a community youth choir here in town. Now that my kids are getting older, I'm finally performing regularly. You may have seen some pictures floating around Facebook of me in a blonde wig in the past month because I was in an opera and I was out of the house 4 or 5 nights a week. My husband's in ministry. We moved to town 5.5 years ago to plant a church, and he's in school now doing 30 hours a week of school in addition to his job. So that none of this I'm saying to toot my own horn, but to tell you that I have had to struggle with this and fight through this because I've also realized that I love Beachbody. I love coaching and I want to do this and I want to thrive, but it's not supposed to be a chore. And so I have not been handling all of this gracefully, but I do think it's an area in which God has been refining me and in the midst of my chaos, asking me, how can I thrive and how can I help others to do the same? And he's using this particularly challenging year. This past fall was the hardest I've had in my business to help me realize what is super important to me. What do I love? And what are the most essential activities that I need to be doing? How can I keep this simple? And what should I not be doing? Because there's only so many things that I can do in my day, and I need to choose wisely. So I'm not practicing all these things all the time, but each has become important for me, and I'm a work in progress. So you, please don't think I have all this figured out. So I'm gonna just do a little screen share here, and I'm gonna share my slides. There I am, overcoming the overwhelm. This is me, February 2014, about 2 months after Imogen was born. I had just done a performance. Here's me 2 years later, a year ago, after another performance. And I think this is just a beautiful picture of the process of progress. So here is,
I am.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt for a second because I don't see your slides?
Oh, yes. Thank you for interrupting. That's because I didn't screen share. Here we go. Let's try that again. Thank you for interrupting. Okay. Now.
Perfect.
All right, cool. So there's me. We'll skip over that. There we are. I'm going to give you a lot of thoughts and tips, and you have to promise me that you will not be overwhelmed by it. So Put up your right hand in the comfort of your own home, and I, state your name, do hereby solemnly swear not to get overwhelmed by all the things I can do to avoid being overwhelmed. That would be counterproductive. So just like we know that changing everything in our health and fitness at once is not the way to help most people thrive, it's the same here. You got to kind of slowly add and layer. So our goal at the end of the call is to identify a few practical tips that you can implement, and small. You and I are not the same, so this might not all resonate with you, and that's okay. Choose what does and keep it simple. So some practical tips for avoiding the overwhelm. First of all, we need to name it. We need to call it out for what it is and give ourselves permission to have these feelings. We have to be present in the stage of life that we're in. A lot of us here are young parents, and that's a tough season. You may be in another tough season. Embrace it. You're not weird. You're not unusual. You're not inadequate. You are human. But the question is, what are we going to do about it? So my very first thing, start your days with intention. We have to pour into our soul. We have to make a choice. So this is personal for you. What activity helps you find the right mindset? That might be a workout. You know, we all know the power of endorphins. Reading, for me, you know, spending some time in prayer and scripture and journaling, huge for me. That's really important. More important than the workout. In this stage of life right now, with Aiden in school and life being crazy, I haven't been doing early morning workouts. And if I have to choose, I'm going to put the workout later because the other is more important for me. But you might be different. So decide. But it's important that we don't sit in our pit, right? It's all about mindset. If any of you are on the Income Surge and watched Miguel Carrasco, holy crap, like he brought it. And he basically said, like, it's all about mindset. For the most part, we have a choice, and you can choose to use that for your business. As I was really struggling this fall, I had to turn the struggle on its end and say, what am I learning in this? How am I growing? How can I give this a positive spin and not be inauthentic necessarily, but just to say, you know, what is the positive in this? How am I growing? And right away, that puts a shift in my own mindset and also gives me value to share with others. If you're starting your day with a negative mindset and the thought that it's going to be rough, then it probably is. Purposefully starting with gratitude is very powerful. I know that's a big thing for Lindsay. So start your day with intention. Post things around your house. What's the first thing you're going to see when you wake up? Do you go into the bathroom? Do you see something on your mirror? Make a choice. Here's the second big point. Determine your non-negotiable business building activities. We spend so much time doing little things that really aren't that important. So if you want to keep it simple and you don't have a lot of time and things feel overwhelming, you have to choose. So for me right now in this, with everything that's been going on, I have had to say, okay, what is it that I need to do? And then I start, if you've ever read Eat That Frog, you start that task, the most important task, and you follow through and you see it through, and you don't move on until the next one. So things that you've definitely heard before, the 4 vital behaviors. They're vital behaviors for a reason. And it took me a little while in my business to realize that that's not just some gimmicky thing that they talk about. Be a product of the product, right away. We've got things to post about. We've got things to share, and we feel better. Inviting. We don't have a business. We don't have challenge groups if we don't have people. And that's not just those public invites. Personal development. This gives you the excitement. This gives you the joy. This is one of those things that in my crazy busy life, I don't always have time to sit down with a book, but I'm driving to work or I'm driving to whatever, and I'm listening. I'm listening to things. Before bed, I've made it a point to get off my phone. And even if it's 5 minutes, just to spend 5 minutes with, whether it's my Bible study or it is a book or it is something, but to finish my day in that way. Recognition, we know that's important. So 4 vital behaviors, that's a non-negotiable business activities. I think running kick butt challenge groups and helping people get results, why else are we here? We are here to get results for ourselves, for our challengers. So putting your focus there, because in reality, the best coaches tend to be those who have experienced the true value of Beachbody through a challenge group. So pour into them. I'll talk in a moment, though, about the importance of boundaries there. And be present and add value on social media. These are my non-negotiable business activities. You might have something in there that you'd switch around. That's okay. But, you know, we're basically a social media-based business. So it is better to do a few well-thought-out posts than just kind of throwing random crap out there. And I'm not telling you, I don't usually plan mine ahead. I would like to, but I don't. It's just kind of on the go. But I'm often thinking when I'm working out and I'm hating every minute of it, I'm thinking, what can I share about this? How can I, you know, what am I learning? So excuse me, be present and consistently, you know, add value. On the flip side, we have to identify your business derailers. When I went to Summit the first time, summer, I guess, of 2015, these 2 questions I took away from there. Your business derailers may be different than mine, but I think identifying them is powerful. Facebook scrolling, I'm still working on this. I find myself and I'm like, God, I just wasted 10 minutes. So again, of doing nothing, it's not building your business. So forgetting that I'm the CEO and that I run a business. So many people say, treat your business like a business. So this is, you know, just things I hear from other people all the time, but it's that realization of, if this was your job and you had a real boss, it is your job. But if you had, you know, would you work it? Are you working it like you would then? Going to your back office continually and checking your SC points, things like that. That's just a waste of time. It's important to check and be purposeful, and then comparison, knock it the heck off. That is totally going to derail you. Some people are good at putting the blinders up, but we have to intentionally do it. We have to purposefully do it. You are not someone else. You know, even our close friends who are in the business with it, we can encourage each other. We should encourage each other, but don't spend time comparing yourself. It's not worth it. Not worth it. So next thing, set business hours and realistic expectations. You know, when are you going to work and what are you going to accomplish during that time? For most of us, if we don't plan something, kind of like your workout, if you don't plan it in, it's probably not going to happen. You're going to find something else to fill that time. So maybe that's before your kids get up, after they go to bed, if you're working on your lunch hour. I will be honest, so many people, and for a little while, I think I was kind of embarrassed about this, but I'm not, because that was dumb. But a lot of women in Beachbody are doing it because they want to stay home full time with their kids. I don't want to stay home full time with my kids. I adore my children. I love my family, but I need that time. I'm a better mom if I'm not. And so for me, you know, I have a sitter for an hour or 2 a day for me to do this. Could I do it with my kids home? Yeah, but I'm not as good. It's better for all of us if I don't. So I'd rather take a little bit of that pay and get some focused work done so then I'm with my kids. So everybody's different. There's not a right or a wrong, but you need to decide. And you know what? If you don't have time for the prettiest graphics and your posting's kind of raw, that's fine. Just do it. Do what you need to do to get to where you need to go. Set boundaries. I think this is huge, and you need to let people know those boundaries. When are you going to check into your challenge groups? For me, I used to sit on at night and it was like, ooh, someone's checked in. Ooh, someone's checked in. And that's just wasting time. Instead, it's the next morning. I go back in. I don't check the challenge group post that night. I go in the next morning and their check-ins and I respond to it then. Okay. If I'm sitting in the car line at preschool, great time to get that done. But I get my post ready the night before oftentimes so that all I have to do is press click the next morning and I'm not taking it away from the time, the breakfast time with my kids and my husband. There was a long time when my husband was driving an hour and a half each way per day as a teacher before he started working for our church that we didn't have that breakfast time. And so now I do, and I want to make the most of that. I don't want to spend time sitting there getting my post ready. So also other things, you don't need to respond to messages right away. I have to preach this to myself. You know, what does that tell people? It tells them that we are available right then and there for them. That's not healthy. We do need to be available, but we need to set those boundaries. So if it's going to make you feel better and you can let it go, then just say, hey, I got your message. I'll be in touch ASAP. Something like that, and then write it down and come back to it. And if a coach or a challenger sends you a message, I learned this from a summit presentation this past summer, and I love this. They send you a message, say, hey, that's a great question. Can you post that on the team page or the challenge group so that others can benefit from it? Then give it a little time. Chances are someone else is going to have the chance to step a leader, and it takes the pressure off of you, and or you're answering questions that other people already had, and that saves you time down the road. The last thing here is take a day off. I hear so many, and maybe I'm in the minority. I don't think I am though. I hear so many coaches, top coaches say, you got to every day, you got to put in the work every day. Me personally, I'm going to take a day off. I don't want to do that. I want, take a Sabbath, take a day when you are not connected. Saturday's a great time. Not a whole lot is happening with Beachbody on Saturdays. But make a choice, or make it work for you. But I think purposefully choosing non-work time is important. So establishing routine in your work time. Removing distractions, turning off notifications, silence your phone, kill your newsfeed. If you use Google Chrome, do kill a newsfeed, and then you never have a newsfeed on Facebook. That's a wonderful thing. If I need my newsfeed, I go into my phone or I go into Safari, but usually I work out of Chrome without a newsfeed. That's helpful. Develop a routine that works for you. My standard routine in my work time, I sit down, I check into my challenge groups, and I post if I haven't already. I go through their post and reply. I do personal development is worked in kind of throughout my day, but then I'll do my 5-3-2, connect with 5 people, do 3 invites, do 2 whatevers. But whatever it is, the connection with people, the inviting, I do my follow-ups, and then I check into my team page. Tracking your business is going to really help you overcome that overwhelm, because then you're going to say, oh yeah, I was talking to this person before. I just know that I need to go here. I started using Teamsy. That was really helpful for me. A lot of people will say, oh, it's $30 a month. I don't know that I want to, but for me, it's worth paying $30 a month for my sanity. You might be different. That's okay. We all work differently. But for me, that's been helpful because it takes away the guess time of like, oh, who should I be in touch with? Nope. Here's who I'm going to be in touch with and connect with. Moving on, setting up systems that are duplicable. We hear that word a lot in Beachbody land. So this is something that some people, I know Lindsay said, everybody's wired differently. We don't all work the same way. Your systems might not be as intense as my systems. I'm a Google Docs girl. I've got a whole folder of resources that I created for myself. And then I was like, why am I keeping this to myself? So I share it with my team. I want them to create their own, but if I'm doing the same things over and over again, at least for yourself, save it in a document, so that you can just kind of copy and paste and send that email to that new challenger or whatever. But systems for your groups, probably a lot of you follow templates, those types of things. How are you onboarding coaches? This is an area in which I have greatly been working on learning. It was stressing me out. And I was like, well, then that means that's probably where I need to do some personal development. And so that's been something I've been learning about. All these types of things, but setting up those systems are going to help you not be overwhelmed because okay, when this happens, I do this. Now, knock it the heck off. A year ago, January, I just had this realization of I am just trying to drag people along. I want it more for them than they want for themselves. I just had to kind of get to a point of saying, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it's freeing. It's a little sad, but it's not, because we think, oh, I can get them to this point. But no, we can't. They have to choose. We need to be present and do what we can in our job, but we can't drag them along. So, a lot of coaches will talk about staying in phase 1. Not getting so caught up in trying to make things work for your coaches, but make sure you're doing your own business building activities and not just things for your coaches. It is important that we're present for them, but they can do it too. There's a lot of things that you can Google and find out. The third thing, avoid the comparison game. And I said this before, but you are where you are in life for a reason. I love coaching, and honestly, I really want to do this. I want to do this, and get as far as I can. That being said, I don't feel called to quit my regular work as a singer, as a teacher. I have cut back significantly on my private voice teaching, and even at the college, I'm teaching less students. And I've been able to do that, but I'm not at a point where I want to get rid of all of that. And so for me, the realization of my journey is going to look different than someone else's. Your path is going to be different. Your network is going to be different. Your placement in your downline is going to be different. Get over it. Don't use that as an excuse, and just move forward. We have to bring our strengths to the table and not focus on someone else's strengths and our weaknesses. If you are struggling with that, connect with someone who can speak truth to you. Speak it out. Admit that you're struggling with that. That sheds light in the darkness, and don't let that comparison steal your joy, because it is a thief that just wants to kill and destroy, and it will destroy you, and that's just not worth it. So I'm just going to wrap up final things. We have to practice some self-care and self-love. This is not easy for me, but turn off your darn phone and rest. I started last year. Actually, no, we did. We set a timer. We can't do this now because Aiden's always sitting at work every night and he needs the internet. But you know those timers that you set on like your lights when you go out of town? We put our internet on a timer, and we had it going off at 9 or 9:30 at night. And that was really helpful. Now I've started at night when it's like, I need to be done. I just turn off my phone, and I don't turn it back on until the next morning, when I have had, had my quiet time or had done whatever I need to do to get my day started. Unfortunately, lately, we've been up a lot later with him in school and stuff like that. I haven't been doing as good of a job at morning routine stuff, but I'm working on getting back to it. But turn off that phone, get some rest, take care of your soul. What are you pouring into yourself? What are you basing your identity in? What are you what are you reading? What are you listening to? Make sure that it's intentional, because it makes a difference and it has power. So for me, with personal development, I had a realization that I couldn't just use my time with God as my personal development, because I actually needed like the business side of things, but at the same time, I couldn't just use that as my personal development because I needed my time with God. So that's me. That might not be you, but that's an important thing to realize. But choose to fill your mind with that which will build up and encourage. So I listen. Personal development videos, soaking it in while I'm cooking dinner, while I'm folding laundry, while I'm driving, uplifting music. Sometimes we just gotta be quiet. Be quiet. It's good. It's hard, but it's good. So giving yourself grace for the tough times, and saying, this is where I am, own it, affirm it, and then say, what am I going to do in the midst of it to allow joy to be present despite the challenge. This last one I'm pretty passionate about, and that's getting your spouse on board if you are married. I was just listening, Melanie Mitro has these Business Tip Tuesdays, which they're pretty stellar, actually. And she just did a 4-week series on spouse, like getting your spouse on board and stuff like that. And it's really powerful. And she was talking a lot about the beginning of her business and the challenges with her spouse. And I was like, oh, that all sounds familiar. I'm doing a post. No, I'm hiding my phone. And what I realized and what she said, and I was like, this is what Aiden and I kind of had to do, is you got to communicate. And sharing, I think the more Aiden understood about the business, the more he was able to kind of be a little bit more gracious, but also help me to establish some boundaries. I still need to work on this. I'm always working on this. But as I let him into it, when he came to an event, he came to Summit with me this past summer. And not everybody might have this freedom, but he came on the cruise with me last year. And actually after the cruise, I think, that was really made a big difference. He understands how coach placement works. I know not everybody's spouses care or want to know, but if they're willing, especially if they're smarter than you, and they get that stuff, let them in on it. He's been helpful on that. So I think the communication, this should be a business that allows greater freedom and connection and unity, but it has the potential to break down and to break apart. And I'm going to stop my screen share while I'm doing this. We don't want to let it have that power at all. So it can be something that's beautiful, but it can also be something that, if not handled well, and this is the case with anything, it has negative power too. So let it have the positive. So I'm going to just finish with 3. Actually, you know what? I forgot I have one thing that I'm going to do. So let me screen share one more time in a moment. But I'm going to share 3 different books that I think, if you're like, yeah, I need to grow in this area. Eat That Frog. Some people don't like it because they think it's dry. I loved it because there was no fluff. I was just like, give me what I need. I don't have time for the fluff. The chapters are like 3 pages long, and then it gives practical action steps. This was great. I have time for that. These are both faith-based books, but I don't think they are. I think anybody could appreciate them. Present Over Perfect by Shauna Niequist. I'm actually a third of the way through this. Leaving Behind Frantic for a Simpler, More Soulful Way of Living. Good book. Solid. The Best Yes by Lisa Turkhurst. Really figuring out what is the best use of my time. What can I say no to? I think those are really important things for our health, for our family, for our business. The last thing that I just want to share with you real quick are just some practical takeaways that I want you to consider, because I do think, we listen to development, personal development, hopefully, but if we're not applying it, then what's the point? So for you, what are 1 or 2 things that you can implement immediately that will help you to operate with more focus, efficiency, and joy? I say 1 or 2 because if you take this, if you're in a place where you're just like, I'm overwhelmed, and you try and use everything, you're going to be overwhelmed even more. So don't do that. So think short term. What things that you would like to do over the long think short to long term. And then I want to challenge you to share these with a 6 partner, with a friend, with an upline sponsor, with a spouse, maybe more than one of those. And I would even challenge you, maybe below the link that Lindsay posted about the call, to share those with the team. Share them there so that we can kind of see, everybody takes something different away, and that's always an interesting thing. But don't just listen and walk away. Think, what can I implement? Even if you're not in a real place of overwhelm right now, but just how can you make your business more efficient? How can you be more focused? One of the things I love in Eat That Frog, he talks about, the point of all of this is to maximize, our efficiency and our income and get more done, but so that we can spend more time doing the things that we really want to do with the people that we love and all that kind of stuff. So the end.
Sorry, I don't know if things were just kind of pausing, but I didn't know that you were done yet because my screen was frozen. But I think you are, and that was awesome. I was taking notes on my phone. I was taking notes on paper. I just wanted to recap some of my biggest takeaways from this call, which was awesome. A lot, but going down to the 4 vital behaviors. And the first one was run, kick butt challenge groups. I know for a fact that challenge groups are an Achilles heel for a lot of coaches. For one, they're like, how am I going to help all these people change? How can I get engagement? How am I going to post every single day? And this is where I'm saying, lean on your people. Do this stuff in groups. I personally am working with my coaches, my PS coaches, and we take turns posting. This has freed up so much pressure on me, and it's not just me having to change all these people's lives. I've got several people sharing their journey and their experience, their wisdom, and that has really made so much more engagement in the group altogether. I know it's the first part of the year which everyone's all excited for their health and fitness, but I've had just some of the most high engagement groups ever. So I was going to say that, working groups, and also decide how can you make this a little more simple. Some things I'm toying around with is 3-month groups like we used to back in the day that you're working with people, or entire year groups, and every month you just start over with introducing people and getting goals, because people need to be setting new 30-day goals every month anyway. So I was just thinking those would be some ways to simplify the challenge groups to maybe make them a little more kick butt, like Emily said. So just that. And then I couldn't help but to speak on one of the derailers, which is scrolling Facebook. It is seriously a pet peeve of mine. I don't know if I'm just that selfish, but I'm not all up in, that's just not my, that's not one thing that holds me back. It's one thing I see others in my life being held back by. But use it as a reward. Only once you've done all of your effective daily activities can you scroll your Facebook. And if you're like, but I use my Facebook to reach more people, here's what I want you to do. Create a list of the people that are your potentials or your prospects, and maybe scroll their stuff. You can see their pages in that list that you're scrolling, to where you can create conversations with those people and create engagement with them so they can see what you're posting. Otherwise, you don't need to be seeing what all the other coaches in Beachbody are doing. It is such a time waster. I usually do my scrolling in bed at night, and I'm telling you 30 minutes flies by before I even realized it. I'm like, I could have been sleeping 30 minutes ago. But it's just you get there and you start relaxing and you're scrolling. But can you imagine all of the time that we're doing that throughout our day? Thank you, Emily, for bringing that up. I got a couple more, or at least one. Oh, you said something that I'm so guilty of. And even one of my PS coaches called me out on the day. They said, or you said, are you spending more time on your team than you are on your own business and building activities? We need to be modeling them for our team. And a PS coach to me said the other day, you're so worried about us, show us what you're doing. And I'm like, wow, yeah, okay. I forgot that is what I'm supposed to do. And that's all I used to do. It's so funny how we get out of our ways that worked. So Emily, wow, thank you. You gave me so much stuff to remember and redial into, and I appreciate that. Anything else you want to say?
I think that working group, that's huge. Actually, more often than not, I mean, with my new coaches, I'm always working with them, but then the cool thing is what I find is that they connect with one another and then often find someone in the team that they partner well with. But my success partner, Jen, and I ran groups together a lot in the beginning, and then we realized, what, it's going to be better served if we run it with our own coaches, because we ran it well together, but that was kind of a time of like, we don't need to do this necessarily together anymore. But I think that always, one, then I'm posting 2 or 3 days a week and not 5, 6, 7 days a week. There are 2 people on the days when my life is just nuts, 2 people to be, or 3 people or 4 people to be encouraging other people. There's more of a presence, and I think that is really powerful. I also, one of my struggles there is I've always kept pretty small groups because I don't want people to get lost. But I think for self-care, like this month, I'm running a much bigger group, one group. And for me, that's one of those things of, it might be better off if I have a larger group and I'm a little bit more intentional with those people who might be struggling than if I'm trying to I'm going to this group and posting this and then going to this group and posting this. And that just makes me crazy. Mm-hmm. I think we have to know ourselves. And it's better off probably if we are in the right state of mind to coach than if we're trying to take care of all those other people and making sure that, that they're not falling through the cracks. They need to choose to be present and to take part, and we have to allow them to take their own initiative and responsibility.
Absolutely. And I love that. That was the very first thing that you opened up with, was start your day with intention. And I don't know if anyone listened to Miguel the other night, but he talks about getting into state each morning, and that's a Tony Robbins term. And, you know, when I went to Tony Robbins, we stood there and we just thought about all the things that made us happy and excited. And the men were beating their chest and the women were jumping up and down. And you just get into this place of excitement and high energy because you know you get what you put out. So if you're operating in a high energy state, you're going to attract people to you because it's like moths to a flame, right? People are attracted to that light. So be that light. I find I do my best posting and encouraging after a workout. So imagine if we woke up every morning and started our day with a workout.
Yeah.
No, that's not feasible for the people that get up at 4 a.m. already to get everything done. And God bless you. I do hope that Beachbody relieves you of that. I hope that can be your way out. But you know, be a product of the product first thing. It gets you going, right? That workout. Emily, I love you. You are so smart and so wise and so kind and talented. Oh my gosh, I need voice lessons. I've always said, and this is probably the most conceited thing I say, but I always say like singing's the one thing I cannot do. I can't sing. But okay, I love you. Thank you guys for everyone for being on. Reread your notes, answer your takeaway questions, post them in the group like Emily suggested. There is accountability and publicly sharing. Okay. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Emily, I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.